Hello everyone, and we're back for another live stream event where we're working on again this week the commish website that I started reworking on last weekend. I just have a few things I want to get done before we move back to our normal applications. Um, if you watched last week, what you would have seen, or sorry, not last week, but yesterday, what you would have seen is me develop out the look of this page. The day before we set up the actual controller and how that all went. I'm just going to test out because I just can't remember exactly everything that what was working, what wasn't. For, for some reason I have this the current agents list. It's not saving the first agent, and I think I found out why. If I can remember from yesterday, I was testing to see, and I think the scope on the friend ID, it is not letting it pass because it needs to be a unique ID. I think that's what is happening. I don't know why, but I think that's what's happening. So I'm going to look into that a little bit. I'm going to actually try something to maybe solve that. And then there is the form here, which we're going to start, and then we also have the talents or the clients page, just pretty much replica of this. So I'm just going to test something out quick. Tim, 33% save. This will come back here, so it should be fine. So first thing I'm going to do is check why it's not creating an agent, because that's sort of funny to me why it's not doing that. So I just want to try and solve that. And then the easy thing today will be just to duplicate this page onto the talents. Whoa, what's going on here? Okay. So I guess that didn't refresh for some reason. So, actually, I wonder if we can do. So this is just going to erase Tim. I got to remember what the user's name is on this account. I wonder if I can go into edit. I should be able to because it's devising. Okay, test company 9. So I wonder if I just copy this and I go back here. It should send me to that setup page. I want it to. Yes, it does. Now, oh, why is Tim still there? But anyways, I'm going to paste that in there. Say 100. This is essentially what I want to do in the application controller, is create this user. Yeah, so here's the error. This is why it's not working. One error. The name has invalid characters. Please supply a different name. The name has invalid characters. Please supply a different name. Interesting. So that is the issue. Okay, so I can actually solve that pretty easily then, if that's the issue. Let's just see what happens if I save it like this. Excellent. I'm glad I did that because this is an easy fix if that's the case. Let's see what happens here. Okay, good. Test company 100, perfect. Now why is this not deleting? Okay. So Tim should be deleted next time I go through here. And he's not. And so let's go check out the logs and see why. Okay. It could be a redirect issue, which in that case we might be able to do something pretty simple. Okay, started deletes agent 12. Okay, that worked. Talent exists. Okay, it halted and redirected. I wonder if it halted and redirected based on so what I should do is, instead of redirecting, I'm just going to search up the application controllers to remember what it's called. Okay, so it's going to complete settings. So I want to go up here and skip complete settings. So let's just find that. Okay. So I'll just copy all this. Yank that, and now I'm going to go over to the agents controller, and up here, oh here, skip before action complete settings only for new, create, and delete. No, destroy. There we go. So we already had the idea for the other two, so we just needed to add destroy to that so it can destroy things. Perfect, so that's good. The other thing I want to do is go into the models agent, and then what was happening is we can't create an agent with a name with some crazy characters in it. So I'm just going to go into the validators, and we will yank that, and let's see if this works. So I'm going to go into the models user, and doesn't look like I have any validators on this. So I'm pretty sure Devise has validators, but I'm just going to stick mine in there anyways. And let's see if that works. So this is the exact same validator that agents uses. So essentially, if they can create the name here, then it should create the name on the agent, which is down here, right here. So agent dot create, use the same name, percentage 100, perfect. It should just work now. So we'll save that. Oh, use right to partial buffer. Okay, there. That works. So I'm just going to jump over to the controller. Actually, I don't need to do that. What do I want to do? Let's just run some tests. Now, the tests I'm running just to see if everything's working in the browser. I will eventually start running tests to do this for me, like write tests to do this for me without going into the browser. The reason I'm not doing it right now, and the reason why some people might be saying, well, he's not doing it correctly, but you should be writing the tests and then going to see make sure everything works. I'll just explain quick now, and I'll probably go into detail with this many times in the future, but the way I've sort of worked out how I like to design these little projects is I'm not a team. I don't write specs ahead of time. I don't, deal with that type of design phase. What I like to do is get right in there and do some coding. So I like to write my model test, my controller test right up front, because I'll know what the model is going to be. I already test for it in the validators. I know the controller is typically pretty basic. It's like show index, edit new, update, all that kind of stuff, destroy. So those are easy to write. You write those to make sure everything's passing as you're going. Then I sort of design the flow of the app, the user interface, as I'm going to see like, well, what should happen next? What should happen next? And I get a feel for the application as I'm moving through designing it, like I'm doing here with you guys. I feel that's a much more authentic way of designing just when it's a one-person show than writing a spec, because I find when I've written specs in the past to do beforehand and then try to write the program, I end up feeling like it's not exactly the way that I want it once it's already built, and I end up changing things, and then I have to change the spec. So I ended up going backwards a little bit halfway through the project. So I decided to take that out of the beginning, go move that towards the end where I sort of get a feel on how everything I want to do. And then I write a spec for that. And that's when I start adding things like scenarios where I say, well, obviously you're going to go to login, then you're going to go set up your agents, and you're going to go set up your clients, and then you can set up some pay logs. That's the way this app is going to work. So that's obvious. So now that I have that done, I'll write a spec for it. And then you start thinking, well, what happens if the user does this? And it's like, just think of all kinds of weird scenarios that the user might do, and then you write tests for that. And then you verify if what you have already written accomplishes what your test spec is. I like writing that way. I find it a lot more enjoyable to create things that way. It's more artistic, and then your specs are there to save your butt. But I do believe in tests up front for your models and controllers, 100%. They're easy to write. They don't change very much. You just write them, implement them, and then as you're sort of playing with the user interface, they keep you on track to say, oh yeah, everything's still working the way that it should on the server side. So anyways, let's just test this delete. Okay, so this should work. We'll go through. And yeah, Tim, I think that was Tim. Tim was deleted. Perfect. So that's working now. We're back at this page. It didn't take us anywhere weird. Everything is working perfectly as far as I can tell. So we're going to do two things. Oh, I'm going to fix, let's just test over this creating the agent up front. Test that, that's done. And then I'm going to create the page for the next clients page, which is almost identical to this. That'll be good. And then I'm going to have this button only show up if we have agents or if we have clients on the page. This button will show up saying you can go move on to the next step. So that's what I'm hoping to do in this little session here, 1 hour long. So let's log out, and I'm going to create a new user. So we're going to register, and we're going to register one with a company name that shouldn't work. So we'll go 44. So this one shouldn't work. Test 44. Okay, and password. So I'll register. Hopefully this is not going to register because this name is invalid. Let's see if this works with validation. I don't know how Devise, okay, so it does. So Devise goes through and it says, okay, I'm setting everything up. I have a user object, user model. I try to push something into the user model and it says, nope, the name's no good. So perfect, that's exactly what we wanted to happen because it ties directly to how the agent works. So the agent should be able to, now it's weird. One thing is, what happens if they do have numbers in their name? I have it set up now where it's like, nah, people don't have numbers in their name. But what happens if they do? Well, we can cross that road in the future. I should write a little comment in there saying, if you change this at all, you must change the agent one with it. So I should write a comment and have a test written that checks that too. So if I do change it down the road to allowed numbers, the test will fail and it'll say, no man, you got to have the agents allow numbers as well. So let's just say test company 5, and we'll redo a password of password. Okay, so if this all works, we could solve this bug by having this create as well as create the first agent for us. So that could be perfect. We have to subscribe with our cash money. And boom, test company 5 shows up. We have an agent already in the system. Perfect. Alrighty, so that's good. Perfect. The next thing is, so we did the first two things we solved already. We solved the delete, we solved setting up the agent. Next thing is we need the page on the clients to match this one. So let's go ahead and go into the views, setup, and agents. And it's essentially, whatever that word is, essentially, oh, I can't talk. It's going to be the same as this one. So I'm just going to yank this and we'll edit it over at the views setup talents. So I'll just paste that in there, go down to the bottom, get rid of this. Okay, so we have the next form. I'm just going to change this to, whoops, what the heck? Change inside this. Talents. This can be deleted. Talents, okay. So that works. It's nice because this form and button does the same thing on both pages. It just redirects back to itself using post, and that triggers change in session. So this is nothing really security. It doesn't actually change anything in the database. It just updates the how far they are in the setup tree, I guess you could call it. So we're good there. So instead of add new agent, let's add new client. Create new clients for your agents by submitting their name and their name. So you're submitting the name and the associated agent. That looks good. So this is going to be talents, hopefully. That'll just go find in the talents folder, it'll find the form, and that should work. So this is going to be current clients. List of all the clients currently associated with your account. Name and agent, that'll work. And then this will be talents. And this is going to be talent path. And this is talent. Are you sure? That's good. So that's for deleting it. Alrighty. So far so good. I'm just saying the form, that's good. So I'm going to save that. We're going to go into the I'm going to go into the agents controller first and snag this line from the top, skip before, snag that. Then I'm going to go over to the talents controller, paste it in there. Oh, I already have it. Okay, so I'm just going to destroy. Okay, so destroy works. Next thing is I need to go into the setup controller. So setup, get that right, controller, good. Ooh, I have an error. I better check what that is in a second. So this is, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so this I'm going to yank down to here because we want the same thing to happen on this page. So talents, and this is going to be, yeah, we need that because it's going to, I'm pretty sure this is how I do it. Okay. Before I forget, I'm just going to save that. Before I forget, I did want to add that comment to the users, which is, whoops, right here. If this gets changed, you must also change the agent. Okay, so that's there just in case. Let's go through the models agent and also do that in the validation here. This validation on name should match the model. User model. Okay, so that is important, so that's why I just want to make sure it was in there. What were we working on here? We were working on checking the talents thing. So I'm just going to click I'm done and see if this will jump over to the talents one without any errors. And it looks like it is. So let's wait for it to load. And we look good. So we have, I'm done with the talent setup, perfect. Oh, this is client setup, shoot. So I'm just gonna fix that quick. Views, setup, talent. So we'll just change this out. Remember, anything facing the public will be called talents. It's sort of a naming error I made in the model, but that's all I gotta do. A little bit confusing, but I can handle it. So we're going into here and just refreshing. Doesn't really matter, but we know that's fixed. Add a new client. Create new clients for your agents by submitting their name and associated agent. So I have the agents here. Um, yeah, so I probably only have one agent for that. What I should actually do, this is reloading. Um, I should have also a button that is saying back, like here, back. So I'm done with client setup or back to agents. And what that button will do is just set the session back to agents. So I can actually go back and add more agents if I want to. Because the problem is if I click this button, it it won't. It'll send you back to the setups client because of the session. So this may need to be hidden until the setup is complete. But I'll think about that. That might just be a user usability thing. What is this error? See, this is why these model and undefined method commission percent in the show talent setup page. So it's talents.html.ebr 32 or ERB. So we'll just jump over to here, 32. Oh yeah, of course not. What am I thinking? Okay, so change word. This is going to be agent.name. That's what I want. Okay, so let's just add one. Billy. Whoops. So Billy is going to have an agent of test company 5. Save. Save client. That works nicely, as it should. And this should just come back here because it's not changing yet. So next time it's time to set up your other class. So I'm not sure why that wasn't there before, but that's fine. And where are my clients? Huh. That could be an issue. So let's see what's happening there. So I'm going to go into, just to look, actually we could split screen this. I'm going to go into, what should I do? The talents controller. Whoop. Talents controller. And under index, current user dot talents. Yeah, so what am I doing over here? Setup controller. Current user dot talents. Okay, now for building one, so new is current user talents new. I wonder why I used build before new. That is very, very weird. My question is, why is it not? Why did it not save it? So no errors there. Agent ID nil, name to, well that's not that. Okay, so this is the one. 302 found. No, that's old. Let's get down to the bottom of this log. Okay. So set up clients, that's fine. Talents, posted to the talents. So had the token, had the name Billy, agent ID is 14, commit is save client, good. Redirected. Well, no, it should have went here, then it should have redirected to not there. So that's something is wrong there. So just fix that. Always look at your logs. All right, so let's go and make sure that in the talents controller, so this is skip the complete settings for, oh, there, that's why. Found the bug. Boom. All right, I'm just gonna reload this and then I'll create a new client. All right, so let's, so I think it was Billy, yep. So Billy under test company 5, save that, should show up with Billy and test company 5 as the agent. Perfect. And we can delete, but let's set up Angie under test company 5. Good, and let's delete Angie. Say okay, make sure that works. Good. So the next thing I'm going to do, so I have the agents page and the clients page both working, creating and deleting, and I have this button working to send me to the next step. I'll do that here. Yep. So I have, and that takes me to the pay logs, perfect. Test company 5. So let's, seeing how this is doing that right there, where it's like the word is too big, so it's dropping down. Let's just clean that up real quick because it's so simple, and then we'll work on the next thing I wanted to work on. So I'm going to go here into the views, pay log, and then the index. And in here, there is this current user.name. So I'm going to use a method called truncate, I believe it's called, and I'll try 9. I believe that's how you utilize it, but I'm just going to run a quick search because there's no reason to not do that. Rails truncate. There we go. Okay, so it's, do I actually have to put the word length down there? So this option, truncate gives a text after a given length. If text is longer than length, default is 30. Yeah, 30 is too long for us. So the default is 30, but we're going to make ours length of 9. Just clean up with a little space. Okay, now I'm going to copy this, yank it down to, I think I have, here's the other title right here. Okay, so I'm going to, whoops, just paste that in there. Save. Okay, that was an easy fix. Let's just go back here and check it out. Save, or refresh. So I'll just clean this up. That way if people have like massively long names, you can control how your actual view is handling that with the truncate method. Really quite cool. One of the bonuses of working with Rails as a framework for web development is it has so many of these little built-in helper tools that you think, man, I wish I would just be able to do this. And if you look at it, look at Rails hard enough, you'll see that it most likely has the tool that you're looking for. So things like just little things you don't really think about, like this truncate thing. So 9 is going to be probably too much, or sorry, too little to display. So let's go ahead and, oh my God. When you have your hands on the wrong part of the keyboard, things sort of go awry. Okay, so let's insert maybe 15. And we will do it here as well. Oh, I already had the truncate command right there, didn't even realize. So I'll go up top. Okay, save that. So I'm going to stop working on this and start looking at something else. So I'm going to go into the helpers. Oh, not helpers. Helpers. And in the helpers, I wonder if I have a setup helper. Yes, I do. Setup helper. Okay, so inside the setup helper, what I'm going to do is create a function and call it next button. And inside next button, I'm going to, actually I should do next button agent. And then in here I'll do def next button. Inside private. Okay, so inside next button agent, I'm going to, wonder if it has access to current user. I wonder. I'm going to go over here and just check out the application helper. Okay, so it has, oh, it looks like it has current user, access current user, good. So I'm going to insert if current user dot agents. I think it exists. That's such a terrible memory for this stuff. Rails check if associations exist. I know you can do count. You can check the count, but that sort of exists. Yeah, I think that's right. Whoops. Okay, so I'm saying if next button. So there we go. And now I'll have a, whoops, I'm going to have a very similar one here for the talent. So talent. So in next button, this should actually take a like this, just like we're doing, whoops, just like we're already doing. And then this one will be agent. And then this next button will take a title, right? And then inside of here, we're going to generate the content tag for the button. Actually, I don't even think I need to do that. I don't need a content tag. All I need is a link to, right? So link, no, it is a form. It is a form. So I can just simply use the partial. So let's just search quick how I call a partial in view helper Rails. Render partial in a helper. Okay, so we have HTML safe. This is not exactly what I think it was in there. How to render view partial. Okay, you can add layout false. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking this. Depending on your setup, you may also be able to shorten this to render feed item. I like this way better. Okay, so in here, I'm just going to insert this. And the partial that I'm doing is, let's just load the setup. Agents. Next form. Yep. So I'm going to have the partial be, let's just change all of this. So this is going to be setup slash next form. This is going to be, I'm going to erase all of that and insert type title. I don't like the old, this is the old school way of doing symbols and assigning things, so do it like that. And why is this? Replace like that. And what is with this? Does it want to, are we making all of this into a string? Is that what we're doing? Okay, I guess so. I didn't think you had to do that, but. So this is going to, if we just call next button and then pass it a title. Oh no, we're just going to call next button agent. That's what we're going to do. And this talents one, we have to check if use current user talents. Oh, no clients. No talents. Okay, save that. Jump over to here. Whoops, not that. Jump over to here. And instead of rendering this partial now, what we can do is call this helper. And this helper is going to do two things. It's going to display the partial as well as, but first it's going to check if there's any agents already existing. And if there are, then it will display the partial. We don't want this button to display and they can skip the steps if, um, if for instance, they can, sorry, we don't want them to skip the steps if they haven't set up anything yet, so it doesn't make any sense for them to do that. So we want them to set up at least one and then skip the steps. So we're going to say next, whoops, next button, where are we? Agent. Yeah, we're on the agent page, so agent. And then this has to be closed off. All right, that's all it is, just that. So we're just going to yank that, save, and let's just see if it works first, because I have had issues with helpers before. So just log out here. Sign in. 544, and we'll do the password. I think this is still on the setup agents. Let's find out. No, it's not. Sign in again. Let's try 77. And sign in with this one. One error. Interesting. So we'll check that out. Okay, so it is showing up here, but weird. Please set up your first. So I wonder why that's showing up. But anyways. Oh no, this is the clients. That's why. I want to go back. I want to go back. I want to go back. The best thing to do would be to just create a new user just so we can see. I still need, once I create that back button, it'll be easy, but we haven't got there yet. But I did see an error on here. So what is this? Undefined method exists. Oh, bingo. Okay, so I'm going to jump back over here, and this needs an S. Exists there. Yeah, so let's create a new user just to test if it works. Register. Blow me. And I have a feeling I spelled that wrong. There we go. So we'll subscribe, and then we'll test if the thing worked. Hopefully, cross my fingers. First try is a charm. Good. All right, so we have a button. Come on now. There we go. And it's showing up because I do have this available. Now I haven't decided in the, I'm going to still think about it, if they're able to delete agents or clients if they only have one. So if they only have one, should they be able to delete something? And that is a question I should ask. For now, it doesn't really matter. So what I need to do is, this is working. So what I need to do is add it to the clients page, then I'll click the next, and then we can test if it actually vanishes without, or it doesn't display. So I yank that, go into setup, talent, and at the very top, good. I can put that there, delete this now. And this is not a button for agents, it's a button for talent. Save. and pop back over here and click I'm done with agents. And good, it seems to be working. Okay, it's good there, but down here it's not. So it means it's working. This is the old way of doing it. So we have nothing there. Now if I go in and do Billy again as another nice talent or client name, this should show up there as Billy, and I should have a button up top to be done with it. Yes, I do. That worked, and that worked. So I do need to swap out the one on the bottom. And the reason I'm doing two is just because this is like a trap. So the person can be trapped on the screen because of the session. So what you want to do is make sure they have a way out of this trap. So we can, you know, click this button to move on from this sort of setup trap. If this was hard to find, then they may be like, well, what the heck? I can't get past here and get frustrated and never use the service. So that would be terrible. And they may generate a big long list of clients so that this thing will be pushed down to the bottom, or they're on a really small screen where it just isn't working right. So you just want to have this visible, at least I do for now. I've been debating if I want one or two, but I'm going to keep the two for now. I'm not going to do that anywhere else but on the setup screen. So the next thing I want to do is, now that I have this all working, I want to create the back button. So they could hit the back button there, but if they ever did refresh, it's going to take them directly to the clients, which is not what we want. So we want to actually set the session properly based on them clicking a back button. So I'm going to go into here, and the way we're going to do that is through the, actually before I do that, I'm going to go down to the bottom and replace this, and write that, and go over to the setup agents, and yank that, pull that down to the bottom, and destroy that. Okay, so now I got both those buttons working off of my helper, which is beautiful. And now my partial, which is setup underscore, no, that's not what I want, setup next form. Setup underscore next form, is that not in here? No, so we all our tests are passing again. I'm going to reset this because I think it's a new file that we haven't put into Control P. So let's reset that. And then I'm going to work on this back button. So we need a couple things. We need the actual button in the view, which is easy, and we need it to go over to the, well, actually we could do this because, I wonder. Because what I could do is, yeah, because I was thinking you could do a post to go forward, a post request to go forward, and then a put request to go back. So like put requests are used for updating things, and I could be saying like I'm updating the session to go back, but truthfully I'm updating it to go forward too. So it doesn't really make sense to manipulate the post and the put methods like that. So instead I'll just post to a different URL, and that should be fine. So there we go. Setup next form is showing up there. So there it is. Now, what we can do is actually we can make this a little trickier. So we could post depending on the button that they pick. So wait, yeah, let's do something fun here because I've never done it before and we just have some fun with this. So we have the submit button. So I'm done with this type of setup, and then we could do value is how can I do this? I'm just going to say back. And we're only going to show this if, so this is a little sloppy, but if type equals talents, right? So that means that we can only go back to agents if it's talents. Now this doesn't work for all circumstances. If I was designing this for like where I'm going to use this partial all over the place, this wouldn't really work because like we actually are hard coding in this talents thing. But this should be fine. So what this is saying is we're going to have a submit button that's just normal, and then we're going to have a submit button with a value of back. And you'll see what happens when we click it in a second. So I'm going to save that, and we will see. Okay, let's just go over and I'll show you what happens. So save this. So essentially nothing should appear here because we're in the agents thing, if I've done that correctly. And then we'll click the I'm done with the agent setup and go over to the talents. And once we set up a talent, we should be able to see both buttons at that point. And then I can go back to agents with that. But not yet. We haven't set up the controller side, but I just want to show you what the button actually sends through. Okay, so we're here. Actually, wait a minute. I'm done with agents. There we go. Set up the clients. Good. Okay. So it's showing, oh, I do have a client already, Billy. So I have this back button, which I want to change so it's not filled in. So change word to default. Perfect. Let's take a look at this. So what I'm going to illustrate here is when I click that, what it's going to send over to the controller. So I just want to show you. So then we're going to grab that information and use it to go backwards. Instead of having an actual back button that goes to its own URL, we can just do this simply using the controller code that we already have and the routes that we already have. No need in bloating up all this stuff with a whole bunch of things when we're really just looking for one bit of data being transferred in the parameters and then utilizing that to do what we want. So see how this looks now with the back button? I just like it. It looks much better. So I'm just going to click back, and it's actually going to finish the setup because of the way we have everything working here. But I'm going to show you what it sends over. Okay, so see, it completed the setup, but it sends over, right, no, that's the, okay, so it sends over, let's look what we did here. So it gets the paylogs, gets that. Okay, so it goes setup clients method post. So this is the post we're sending over. And then it's going to, here, sends the token over, it sends the method post. Oh, it doesn't send over. I think it's because the way I have the button. I think I need to use a Rails thing. What we're looking for is a parameter called commit. And the commit will pass over something called, it'll probably be set to back if we do this properly. And that's what we're looking for to happen. So I just found out it didn't work the way I have it done, but that's essentially what we're looking for. And then in the controller, we can look for that parameter called commit and compare it if the commit parameter is back, and then we'll change the session to go to agents. So that's pretty much what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and implement that. So we have a form tag. So I'm going to do create a submit tag. Let's just search it up. I need to put an equal sign there. And I need to spell submit properly. And I'm pretty sure we do the value, and then we do that's it. Oh, the class. Class is button, and then button default. Essentially, that's what I'm thinking this is going to need. Okay, so we'd have a submit tag. before I go too far, I'll just, because this computer takes forever to load anything, so I'm just going to do this. Submit tag, that's it. Data, class, good, class. This is exactly what we just did, submit tag. Okay, so I'm going to log out here. Log in as somebody who has that set up. This is essentially the, oh, damn it. This is essentially the last thing that I'm going to do today, because I just wanted to set up that page and get these buttons working so they only appear with agents or talents or clients shown. And then I also wanted to create the back button. So I feel I've accomplished all of that. Let's try this 77 person. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Set up your clients. Okay, so see how there's no button to move on? We need to set up the client. So Angie will belong to Agent Tiny. Huh, that was weird. I guess the session is no longer, or the cookie is no longer there. Spec element. Oh, maybe this was an account that didn't set up session, or it didn't set up cookie, it set up session. Probably, because I remember we switched halfway through. I'm not gonna worry. This is where tests work really good, because you just write a test and it just does it for you. But I don't really want to do those yet, because I'm just trying to figure this out. I want to figure out how this whole thing works. So, yeah, my time at test.com. Create a new account. That's done. This is done. We can move on because we have an agent pre-set up for us, which is good. We can do Billy as a client for my time, which is good. And then we can do, I'm just going to click the back button. So it will send us forward and complete everything, but it should log this. So there's the post. Damn it, it didn't. Oh no, wait, I haven't, that was the old one. So where's the post? Right here. Okay, so there's the commit that we're looking for. So the commit parameter is set to back. So I'm just going to grab that in the controller and we'll finish this off real quick. So perfect, so that's done up. So I'm just going to go into setup controller. And inside setup controller, what the heck? Okay, so what the mother? Something fishy's going on with this program. Okay. Oh my god, what the heck? I'm just going to exit out of there. Close. Vim. Okay, so we're going to go into the setup controller and edit this through talents. So if talents gets the, oh wait, no, it's through here. So if params commit dot exists. Actually, I'm just going to check there's a better way of doing this. Rails check if param exists. This is what we want. Okay. Okay, I wonder if it needs to be capital, but I don't think so. And params commit equals back. Path equal, oh no, wait. Whoops. Okay, so path equals, where were we going again? Setup agents path. I could do that, and then I also want to, so cookies, this one right here. Inside of this method, we should only have one redirect. That's sort of the way that it works. So we're just going to set a path and then a redirect at the very last thing. We'll do a redirect. So I'm pretty sure we're having set up as agent, and then this will be so we're going to do this path equals root path. Make this equal to that, and then over here we'll redirect the path. There. So now when we click the back button, it's going to say, well, do we have a parameter called commit? And if it's equal to back, then go to the agents thing and reassign the cookie to agent. But if it doesn't, then the path is a root path, and then have the cookies delete the cookie setup. Save that, and we'll just run through this one more time from the beginning. And that's it. That's all we're going to do today. But that's a lot. That's pretty much completes the entire setup process for this application. All the different pages and all the different ways that you can utilize it and move forward and move back. So I think it's good. Okay, so one more user. Register. So we actually solved quite a few. We solved the issue with the deleting the agents and the talents. We solved that issue. We solved the issue where the agents weren't being created when we register for an account. So that's done because there it is right there. We created the actual whole page for the client, so that's done. We updated this to be a helper, a view helper, these buttons, and we also changed them to only display if there is agents or clients, which it's showing right here, it's not displaying. And then we also created the back button. So I'm just going to create Tim, do this, and then test the back button. And keep in mind, if you've never tuned in before, that the slowness of all this is nothing to do with the application or Rails, it's to do with the VirtualBox. So we do have a back button now, and this shows up, so I'm just going to click back. Hopefully it takes us to the agents. It did. Boom, so we're back into agents. I'm done with agents. It's going to take us back over to talents. Good. And then we can say we're done with talents. This should say clients, which I sort of messed up on there, but and there you have it. So then we're totally done the setup. We're into the normal app. Everything's golden. The only thing else I might do is hide a lot of these things, except for the account stuff. I'll hide all of the buttons up top here until we're done with the setup. And that's pretty much all I'd probably do to change that, but it's not necessary because none of these actually work. They'll just redirect back to the setup pages. So that's perfect. Everything's working out great. And so one thing, like I said, I'll do that. And then the only other thing I think left to do is write some tests for that whole process. And then that setup bit is done. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll call that a day. All that stuff we accomplished is really, really good. And